Picture this, 1997, Germany. A young straitjacket Jim on holidays wanders into a department store. On display, the newly released Nintendo 64 and its flagship plumber, Super Mario 64. I didn't understand a word of German, but just playing through the levels in Mario's first 3D adventure was amazing. When we got home, my family got our own Nintendo 64, and along with Super Mario 64, we got Shadows of the Empire, the first Star Wars outing for the console. This was back before backwards compatibility was such a big thing, so for a while those were the only two games we had, and I had so much joy playing Shadows of the Empire, and I'm looking forward to revisiting it for Star Wars playtime. Shadows of the Empire was a unique experiment for Star Wars. It was released not long after the launch of the NTSC Nintendo 64 and was a launch title for the PAL 64 as well. And then it got a release on PC in late 97, early 98. But it was the way it was supported in other media that really made it stand out. At the same time that the game was released, a book and a comic were also released, along with some toys and an original soundtrack to go with it. In fact, the whole thing was sort of treated more like a movie release than the sum of its parts, and it may as well have been a dry run for the upcoming special editions. A while back I bought the Steam version of Shadows on the PC, and I gotta say I was less than impressed with how it played these days. But I was pleasantly surprised when I was digging through an old box and I found my old Nintendo 64 and my copy of Shadows. So let's boot it up and see how it plays. Shadows of the Empire fills in some story between The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, but actually starts with the opening of the former. You play as Han Solo type Dash Rendar, a smuggler aiding the rebellion. After a supply run to Echo Base, Dash finds himself on Hoth during the Empire's invasion. Jumping in a snowspeeder for only the second time in games, the first being Super Empire Strikes Back, Shadows gave us what I still think is the best representation of the Battle of Hoth. Super Empire Strikes Back did its best with the Super Nintendo's Mode 7's graphics, but it was the 3D nature of the Nintendo 64 that gave us the first true representation of the Battle of Hoth. After escaping from Echo Base and a mad dash through the asteroid field, Part 1 finishes and we jump forward to the time after Empire. Dash is hired by Leia and Luke to track Boba Fett, who is taking a frozen Han Solo to Jabba the Hutt. You track him on Ord Mantell before moving on to Gaul Spaceport, where you finally catch up with him. Spoiler alert, he escapes. We then learn that someone is trying to kill Luke, and Dash is hired again to be his bodyguard. After they are contacted by criminal organisation Black Sun with information on a top secret project and the whereabouts of secret plans, Dash joins the rebel in a raid to steal them. It's then we find out that not only was Black Sun and the villainous Prince Shizor behind the bounty on Luke in an attempt to win favour with the Emperor and discredit Darth Vader, but that they'd also kidnapped Leia. We then head off to Coruscant through the sewers of the Imperial City and up through Prince Shizor's palace to rescue Leia before taking flight to destroy Shizor's Skyhook, a floating space station in orbit above Coruscant. Opening on the Battle of Hoth was a stroke of genius. I've mentioned in my streams how when you're introducing new characters, especially into established universes like Star Wars, it helps to show they have a connection to existing characters. Introducing us to Dash in one of the most epic scenes in the original trilogy gives you a connection to him, and the first 3D enactment of the Battle of Hoth. Being able to trip AT-ATs over and shoot down probe droids was an amazing feeling. I found I had an easier time with controls this time round. Strafing was a new idea back then, and me not really knowing what strafing was made it difficult. This time round I've used strafing and it made things a lot easier. That said, this game suffers from something else unique to early 3D shooters: looking. It seems strange now to think that strafing and looking was such a problem given how standard the controls are, but early games were still trying to work that out. In Shadows on the Nintendo 64, you had to hold down the Z button to look around, which stopped all movement to let you look. But the sensitivity left something to be desired, and for the most part I tried to avoid it. It was a very dark game. I had to turn the brightness of my TV right up so I could see, well, anything. The levels are well designed and a lot bigger than I remember them being. But the bosses aren't the best. Humanoid bosses such as Boba Fett and IG-88 are so hard to hit. I found I had to stop to try and look at the boss and shoot them while taking massive damage. While the big mechanical bosses such as AT-STs and Slave 1 go the other way. There's nothing particularly hard about them, as you can just run behind them and shoot without any worry of death. There is a weapon called Seekers in the game, which are supposed to do what their name indicates, but never seem to work for me. I'm not sure whether that's because they're broken or if I saved them for bosses and it just didn't work for them. In fact, the only weapon other than lasers I really used was a disruptor, and that was because it was more of an area of effect weapon and easier to hit bosses with. Shadows of the Empire holds a special place in my heart. It builds on the story of Star Wars and gives us something new.
I still love this game, from the epic Battle of Hoth to the fight over Coruscant. The controls are a little dated, but it is still a lot of fun. Shadows was a movie without a movie, but that collaborative development just made it all the more better, whether you prefer the game, the book, the comics, or the toys, or the soundtrack. I'm definitely a fan of the game and highly recommend it to anyone interested in the history of Star Wars games. With all that in mind, I give Shadows of the Empire my Star Wars playtime rating of 1 more pass.
Nice! But now we just got to race through. But we're not going too quick because there's something I want to show off, because I loved this little Easter egg in this game. So there's a special challenge point you can get, and it's as soon as you get out of Mos Eisley. So it's here. Turn around. Hey, look! Oh, the other way, Dash. The Sam and Max challenge point. How cool is that? I love my Maxi. What an incredible smell I've discovered. Alright, bad guys are red. That'll be good for standing out against green. Oh, I thought that was health. Dash has got a cute butt. Butt. Are you ready? Work it, baby. Work it. Look at that ass. Right, let's get out of here because red is bad. Alright, we're gonna boost. We're gonna get... Oh, for a second there I thought I crashed into the walls and killed myself. But we've done it! There's Shadows of the Empire. Wait, where's Dash? He must not have made it out before the sky blew. Oh no! Oh, he's dead.